You're listening to Rookie Pirate Radio, the official anime and manga podcast. Come on, John, you can talk. Manga podcast for InBetweenDrafts.com. I'm John Negroni.
And I'm Travis Hymas.
And today we're doing a manga recap of One Piece chapter 1126 titled Settling the Score. And Travis, I say you and I need to settle the score. Who scored the most One Piece theory points between you, me, and our producer, Rookie D. Pirate?
This week or in total?
In total. Going back to 1071, I think was our first episode.
Oh, I wasn't keeping score, but I know who won last week.
Well, I know who's tied for last place. That's right, you and me.
Yep.
As usual.
It's very funny because I told you before we started recording, it would be funny if you messed up the intro as a bit, and then we did unintentionally. So we're really just, You
manifested it.
I did. That's setting the tone, I think.
Well, hey, as usual, we're going to be discussing spoilers for the One Piece manga up until this point. So if you have not yet read chapter 1126, be sure to do so now for free on the Viz website or the Shonen Jump app, linked in the show notes as always. And remember, all new One Piece chapters are available to read for free up to 3 weeks after their official release or whenever you want if you're subscribed to Shonen Jump, which we are and do recommend. Travis, we don't have a ton of time, so how about this? Everybody needs to join the Discord. They know that they're aware, but what do you think is the number one reason why people should join the Discord where you can chat with One Piece fans and the spoiler channel when you're up to date on the manga and then some?
Well, if you're a regular listener of this podcast, John, the number one reason would be that our frequent collaborator on this podcast, the In Between Drafts editor-in-chief, Allie, will be caught up any moment.
Ooh, that is a good reason to join the Discord, isn't it?
And it means that she will finally be allowed into the spoilers channel.
we're gonna, the doors, we're gonna take the bars off. We're gonna take down the picture that says "Keep out Ne-sama," and there you go. She's let in.
Yeah, they are at this point, as I understand it, caught up on the anime and just have the handful of Egghead chapters remaining that have not been animated to read. And then they get to know what it's like to be us and constantly in a One Piece drought.
That's right. And so, look, not that I would, wish that upon anyone else. I remember many times throughout my One Piece journey where I would take breaks and I'd fall behind, and then I would, go to the anime first to catch up. And then I'd get all the way to the anime and I'd be like, all right, time to get back into the manga. And then I'd look at the dashboard and be like, I have 30 chapters of wonderfulness before I'm going to be back on that weekly grind, but always a welcome grind for me.
That's what I would say, though, is if you want to be there for the prestigious historic moment and join in that equal bits of commiseration and congratulations, join the Discord. Also, Dan to Dan is coming out, and we're probably going to be talking about it a lot.
That would be nice. But all right, let's recap this chapter. Again, it's 1126. And this could go down as the first official chapter of the Elbaf arc, but let's talk about it. So we start off with the cover story, Ogre Child Yamato's Golden Harvest Surrogate Pilgrimage Volume 14. The girls from the soba shop in Curry have gone missing. So we see Yamato getting this, this update, this hot gossip that there are more people getting captured. So whatever is going on in the cover story, whoever is getting, abducted and all that seems to be our running theme. And we're just getting more snippets of how large this conspiracy really is. I do like, though, that we have grounded where exactly she is at this point. I know we've been getting tidbits, but yeah, still in Curry. So all that's going.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see how this plays out because we've been expecting Wano to come back into relevance pretty quickly, especially with things that happen in this chapter. But this does not seem to be leaning in that direction at all. This seems to be just like a traditional cover story where we're kind of just having like a side adventure. And that's completely fine, but it's really not what we expected. Now, that doesn't to say that it's not going to like pivot halfway through like the Mads story with Germa did. So maybe we're just going to get another one of those. But it is curious because that this whole story opened on like this sunken floor of Wano where Pluton is, and we were all really like, oh, what's this going to be? Are we following up? and it really is just kind of like, it's interesting. I'm definitely curious as to see who this is. Is this like a queen thing or something? Since most of the people getting kidnapped are women, it's not impossible, but it's like, after the big reveals that like fed into the main story from the last cover story, it's kind of like, where are we going with this? Because it's not like this is going to pay off in 10 years.
That's right. But okay, so speaking of payoffs, we do seem to be getting kind of a different transition into whatever's going to happen next, because we are not doing our around the world in 80 days kind of thing we usually do between arcs. We're kind of just getting a few chapters here and there that are still connecting to the main story. So we actually start off here with the Straw Hats themselves, still en route to Elbaf, partying it up, eating with the giants. We get a little bit of an update on what happened with Dorian Broggie, how they got dragged out of their duel, but their duel is still ongoing, and which is pretty funny. I guess we should have pieced that together, that yeah, it's not over, but it's more or less that they're still in the middle of the duel. I kind of took it as that they postponed it, or they were like, we'll get to the duel later, which I guess is sort of the case. But yeah, when we see Omo and Kashi as well, kind of talking about how they put those pieces together, they went to Little Garden. A lot of what we predicted and speculated was the case over the years, since the end of Eni's Lobby. So that said, they are still partying, and they get this little drink called absinthe, the Green Fairy. My first time hearing about absinthe, I think, was through Moulin Rouge, weirdly enough. So that is a very well-known European spirit that, as they say in this chapter, can make you hallucinate. So kind of adding to the Oda thinks that alcohol is very funny. Sake is the only, because it's Japanese, right? It's like the sake is the sacred, the honorable booze, but all other booze is like silly and goofy and don't take it too seriously. So that said, we also get a quick little update. Like we see Bonnie and Kuma are, kind of watching, they're looking at the sea together, the horizon. Kuma's even smiling. It's very cute. I suspect that this is just moments before they join the crew. So we'll get that probably in a later chapter. Anyway, so we go to the island of Gartel in the New World. So this is where Bartolomeo and the Bardo Club, as they were, they burned the flag of the red-haired pirates and put up Luffy's. And Bardo, of course, got on the radar of Shanks, and we were promised that Shanks would do justice, right? Because the whole code around here is that they can't let something like this slide. It doesn't matter that, the Shanks pirates, that they like Luffy, obviously. It doesn't matter because they protect these islands with their flag, and if somebody destroys the flag, they have to pay the consequences. And so Bardo, we see the aftermath of what must have been a very short conflict between Bardo and the red-haired pirates. Now, a lot of people have been speculating on, was Shanks able to get past the barrier? Was it, but the power scalers, they've been hard at work. Work is a generous description of it. But we don't know. We don't know what brought down the Bardo. I think that we could speculate all day. I don't think it necessarily matters, because if it did, Oda would have brought it up. I think that there are countless things that you could guess happened to defeat that barrier. The first of which is that it's Shanks. He's literally an emperor. If it was that easy to fight off Shanks with a barrier, you think it... Anyway, I don't want to rant because I'm just recapping, aren't I?
Yeah. We'll talk about it.
We will. So Bardo apologizes for everything, and then the I forget his name. He's the doctor of the red-haired pirates. What's his name again? Tongo. Thanks. And because he has the monkey.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he gives Bardo this poison, and he says that, all right, you have to give this poison to Luffy within the next month. So I guess the idea here is that we'll let you go, but you have to betray your captain. And then Bardo looks at it and, is being told this, but he immediately just grabs the thing with his mouth and drinks it. The ultimate display of loyalty. And we don't see exactly what happens, but Bardo, of course, says that Luffy shouldn't have to deal with the consequences of this. I should just die, blah, blah, blah. And then we cut to, the poison was fake. It was just a loyalty test. And apparently that amused the Shanks, the red-haired pirates, so much that they let them go. So we see the Bardo pirates go off in the Going Luffy Senpai, and it looks like, they got some mercy. And we even see, Shanks kind of smirking. Beckman's kind of, calling him out for it. And it's like, oh man, it feels good, that to see how much they care about Luffy. But then Yasop gets over there, he steps over there and is like, well, still, every action has a price to be paid. And even though the Bardo pirates were kind of like, oh man, Shanks, I would have thought an Emperor of the Sea would be more bloodthirsty. Yeah, I guess he's a bigger softy than I realized. No, Yasop, holding up a rifle, blows up the ship. Could have been one shot for all we know, probably a hockey bullet or something along those lines. But then the narrator, of course, says that, yeah, the Bardo pirate ship sinks in the waters off of Gartel Island. Status unknown. Very eerie. Which definitely got a few people in the community being like, is Bartolomeo dead? Bardo's not dead. Quinn, if you're listening, I hope you are. He's not dead. He's fine. He's fine. They're right off the coast. They're going to be okay. We've been through this. So I'm putting my flag in there. Please don't, burn it down. All right. So far we've had two, kind of like segments. We have two more. The next one is we go to Hachinosu. And so the pirate island full of lead, and Pizarro gets in a lot of trouble because he let Kobe get away. But overall, everyone's or Blackbeard, who has just arrived at Hachinosu, he's obviously very upset about this, but and also upset that he let Moria get away too, which is news to us. We didn't really see what happened with Moria. We just kind of assumed that Perona was going to find him eventually and kind of sneak out during the commotion. But all that said, we do see San Juan Wolf trying to put the buildings back together, which is hilarious. It's like he's playing with blocks. Very cute. But yeah, so we see this big meeting with the Blackbeard, the Titanic captains, and even though Blackbeard's super upset and annoyed that Kobe got away, he is pretty happy that Kuzan was able to bring in Garp. And it's funny because Kuzan even says that he thought he killed Garp. Apparently Kuzan spent too much time in the subreddits, and was like thinking, kind of going a little bit too far. Kuzan, just listen to Rookie Pirate Radio. We got your back. We'll help you, keep those theories, at bay, as it were. But yeah, Garp is still alive, and he gets a lot of kudos from Blackbeard because it is true that there aren't a lot of people who could have taken him down. Now that said, it's kind of overshadowed a little bit that it's not like Kuzan beat Garp by himself. It did take a bunch of the Blackbeard pirates working together to do it. But either way, a win's a win, as it were. Also, we get a quick check-in with Pudding. She's still around, and Blackbeard's kind of celebrating that as well. And we finally get a reveal, where the heck has Lafitte been? We've been talking about this throughout all of the Egghead Island arc, and Blackbeard patches into him. Apparently, he's literally at the base of the Red Line, the Navy HQ below Mary Joa, and he has been basically spying on the Revolutionary Army and basically observing how they've been able to do the siege that Oda keeps coming back to, and it's very crucial that he is. We have to both expect, right? So apparently, the reason that they're not able to get the food of the Celestial Dragons, which we literally got another update about this last week with that one Celestial Dragon who was like, I want beef, not fish. And apparently the Revolutionary Army, according to Lafitte, has just been blowing up the Bondolas whenever they do manage to get some food in. So it's not like the siege is 100% effective, but they have that contingency plan of like every time they try to bring food up, the Navy isn't able to because the Bondolas end up crashing. So it's definitely pretty wild. The implications are going to be certainly long felt. And then we get the last couple folks who were off. And that is Katarina Devon and Van Auger, who bring Caribou with them. And so we're going to, who knows when we'll get that check-in, either the next chapter coming up. But we might be getting Caribou telling Blackbeard a lot of information that we don't want Blackbeard to know. But that is One Piece, baby. All right, and then the last segment here, we do get another check-in with the Straw Hats, but apparently 2 days have passed. We get a little mini time skip. 2 days have passed since leaving Egghead. We even see these huge fish, which kind of implies that they're pretty close to Elbaf because they see these giant creatures, right? And it's strange because they haven't gotten to Elbaf yet, which the narrator implies that they should have by now. We see the giant pirate ship, the Great Eric, and the reason they haven't made it is because apparently Luffy and a few of the other crewmates, along with 1,000 Sunny, have all gone missing. The Straw Hats who are missing include Luffy, Nami, Zoro, Usopp, Sanji, and Chopper. So basically the first 5 crewmates, right? 5 or 6, math. Yeah, 6. So basically the OG crew plus Chopper. Chopper wouldn't really count as OG because he joined in the Grand Line. So kind of an interesting tie there, huh? So yeah, the Straw Hats are panicking. They're saying like, well, we can't go. Or they actually say we can't go back to Elbaf, without it. Which I think they're talking about the Thousand Sunnies. So it almost kind of implies that they went to Elbaf and then left. It's actually kind of opaque.
Well, so it's the giant saying that they left to go get Luffy.
Oh, I thought
and they can't.
I thought it was
come
Jinbei
back
saying
with
it. That's why, because the bubble was right next to Jinbei's, so I thought okay. My
it's
bad.
the giant like leaning over the bow of the ship.
There's also cute. You see, Bonnie is like tugging on Jinbei's, kimono, and because Bonnie's just a kid. Anyway. But yeah, we see Robin, of course, being her usual pessimistic self. And yeah, Frankie just being, like kind of, I guess in this case, Frankie and Jinbei and Robin are like 3 pillars, right? I guess Brooke too, but Brooke is the one who's kind of panicking. So yeah, and then...
It is interesting that it's the older Straw Hats that are left behind, right?
True, yeah, because the youngest of the whole crew, and I guess Bonnie's the youngest, but... and then, of course...
Not official yet.
I know, but a man can dream, and as Blackbeard would say, dreams never die. Anyway, so we then cut to something very peculiar. Nami wakes up. Someone says, hey, wake up, to Nami. And she opens her eyes. Apparently, she thinks she has a hangover. And she's also in a room that looks like a bunch of Legos. And she's wearing Viking clothes. Dun, dun, dun. Is this Elbaf? Seems to be.
Legos?
Now, I did say Elbaf would not be so simple. Didn't I say it? I said something has to go wrong. We have to have our going up the waterfall moment. Because this was going way too, no pun intended, swimmingly. But I am a little surprised we probably are at Elbaf at this point. Because I thought maybe it would have been something before Elbaf, but... I feel like this is Elbaf because, look at her clothes.
Yeah. I mean, this is the question, right? Because how did the Sunny get separated from them and get to Elbaf before them? That's the question. Now.
I'm wondering if it was like they got drunk and it was like some kind of drunk exploitation.
Well, they were tied together, right? So. Someone had to, it's not like Bonnie was drinking, for example, right? Mm-hmm. So, what did she see? Somebody had to have seen the ropes get untied or broken or cut or something, right?
I guess so. But I guess, everybody was drunk and then they went to go do something. But it could be a very silly thing. It could also be very serious of, we have to go do this thing and it can only be us. But, I think there is something to the fact that, yeah, you're right. It's the youngest crew members. It's also the first 6 of the crew. I'd like that because first of all, it's everybody who was at Little Garden minus Chopper, and we are kind of tying back because we have Usopp going to the island and stuff. We have apparently Vivi is not very far away. I've been thinking more and more could this be where Vivi reunites with the Straw Hats on Elbaf? That would be really cool because think about it. Vivi knows all the Straw Hats who are separated right now. So if she was able to reunite with them, it would be kind of perfect.
Ooh, that's a good point. That's the actual delineation in this is Vivi more than anything else, right?
Mm-hmm. She knows Robin, but not Robin as a crew member.
Right. She knows her as a Miss All Sunday, which is kind of a point of contention. Even non-canon media like One Piece Odyssey has actively been let's not complicate things by having these 2 characters on screen together. So it makes sense that they're not doing that here, but that's a good point that that's the division here is the Alabasta crew and then everybody after that. That's very interesting.
Right. We do see Lilith too, by the way. I didn't mention she's kind of in the corner doing her thing. So it's kind of cool that we're kind of maybe breaking away from all the stuff that's like more new, and we get to maybe just focus a little bit more on what the next adventure is going to be. And I'm looking forward to it, Travis, because you know what I really miss? I do kind of I miss the monster trio. You know, I miss getting to see Luffy, Sanji, and Zoro. Well, although we don't really know what's going on with them. We don't know if they're okay or if they got kidnapped or whatever. But man, it's going to be kind of fun to kind of see the old crew, the pre-time skip crew, kind of like bantering and fighting together and doing their thing. Like I'm kind of into it.
Yeah, and they're not separated. Like they're in groups, but they're clearly not completely separated because whoever wakes Nami up knows her name. They called her by name and she responds. So it's probably Luffy or somebody waking her up.
I guess so. Well, we don't know if they're... How do we know they're in groups, though? Because it could be that, like, maybe Nami's the only one who's okay. I don't know. We don't have any information, but we're kind of left with this cliffhanger of, like, the Legos, which is just, like, devil fruit, right? Like, that has to be a devil fruit. I want it to be a devil fruit.
I mean, it could literally just be a toy house, right? Like,
yeah,
if they
but I want it to
Elbaf,
But, okay, that reminds me of Big Mom stuff, by the way.
Yeah.
So, like, putting that out there, there's a lot of Big Mom stuff that's still unresolved, speaking of Wano. But also, yeah, somebody could have the block fruit. Whatever, they can turn things into blocks. That would be very much like Whole Cake Island.
Like a Lego man would be very, very funny. And, like, Legos are Danish, which is kind of the region that Elbaf is pulling from. So, like, making this an element of it.
One piece by piece, starring Pharrell.
Regardless of anything else, this is a great reminder that, like, we just, even when we think we have it figured out, or we literally predict, like, oh, something has to happen here because, you know, things are going a little too calmly. I don't think anybody would have nailed they get drunk and then end up in a Lego house. Like,
yeah,
right?
Maybe as like a kind of inverse of Whiskey Peak.
Yeah. It's interesting, though, too, because a couple of the folks who are really, really good with their liquor on the crew just so happen to be the ones who got splintered away. Like, when was the last time you saw Nami have a hangover in this series?
Yeah, she doesn't usually drink a ton, I guess, huh? And when she does, she
drinks
fine.
A ton. Like, her and Zoro drink a ton together. It's just they both hold their liquor.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, they do.
So it's kind of interesting. I guess according to the SBS, Jinbei is like the next bestest, which makes sense because
he's the biggest.
He's a fish. But yeah, literally.
I don't have too much to say about the red-haired and Bardo thing that hasn't already been said. I think he's fine. I think that, as we discussed in the Discord, then their next ship will probably be the Thousand Luffy Senpai. Like, I think Bardo, he's a very interesting character. I think that we're getting closer and closer to the Grand Fleet kind of coming into the story in a bigger way again, especially now that we're at the giant island. And of course, the Grand Fleet has its own the new giant pirates and all that stuff. So I'm hoping that we get some play with that for sure. In fact, you know, what if Travis, the Grand Fleet is what showed up and took the Thousand Sunny, and, you know, there was like a drunken, let's go here. I don't know. I could be, who knows?
Yeah.
But,
my only thing about the Bardo appearance here is that it's kind of weird that it's here because it throws the timeline into a whole twisted sense of itself. Like, this is like, oh, a month ago this happened, but we know what Shanks was doing 3 days ago. So why are we bringing this up now and not earlier in the narrative? Like, it's taken a while to circle back to this.
This was right after Wano, right?
Right. And we know that from here, Shanks goes and sails past Wano, et cetera, but, like, then we know where he went after that. So it's kind of like, why are we doubling back to this now?
I would guess
why choose to put this here?
Well, that would support the idea that the Grand Fleet stuff is going to come into play, and then we're going to see maybe Bardo comes in the story too. That could be one thing. It could, like, if somebody came to the Thousand Sunny and said, Bardo's in danger, like, we got to go help him. I don't know. But also, I think that it is nice to resolve this stuff, and when it's a little bit more, I guess, like, heightening the stakes a little bit of, like, things are kind of moving. And this could, I mean, the simple explanation Could be that Oda was like, yeah, I never kind of showed this, and I think I need to show it now. I need to show, for example, Yasop doing something for the first time in canon, right before a big Usopp arc. That kind of makes sense because the only time we've seen Yasop do anything was in Film Red, and that's not canon, right? So I think there could be something to that if there's a bunch of Usopp stuff coming up.
I do think it's also fair to, I guess, remind the audience, because a lot of our Shanks theorizing does come from the angle of knowing him from chapter 1. But most people don't really know his relationship to Luffy unless they have like personal connections with Shanks, right? Like Rayleigh knows, and Buggy was able to figure out, oh, that's Shanks' hat. But like regular pirates, even the big fans of Luffy, don't know that history, right? Mm-hmm. So there is an argument to save face as much as possible, just as we learn more about Shanks' origins and kind of debate where he fits into the story at this point, or where other members of his family fit into the story at this point. It's probably good to still know that, like, hey, they're just walking around here being basically unstoppable all the time.
Yeah, I think I agree. And it's a good reminder too that of like what Shanks is capable of, and showing us that like, yeah, he's not going to let things slide easily. And I think I think the simple thing is that we're going to get a payoff to this pretty soon. And so putting these incidents closer together might just be more helpful, especially if it's something that pays off within the next, few chapters or whatever it is. I could be totally wrong. It could be that like 20 chapters from now or something, but that was something that I wanted to get into, which is that I like how we don't really have to do this whole sort of like check in around the world thing, because we've been doing, I think that Oda's just like, I can just do that whenever. I can do that during the arcs. Like, you know what? We have the death game thing. It's kind of not going anywhere. So I'm just going to devote the next 5 months to a bunch of like mini arcs that kind of fill us in on world events that are going to come into play right after the arc. Because I don't want to, that's going to be more interesting to people than, where's York? I can't find her. Like all that nonsense. So I kind of like that. Like even in this chapter, we're doing that still. We're like, yeah, we have this new arc coming, but let's quickly check in with, with Blackbeard, for example. And the Blackbeard stuff, none of it's like super surprising minus the Lafitte thing, but it's just a nice little like, okay, here's Blackbeard is now at Hachinosu. Now we know where he is. Now we know where all the Blackbeard pirates are, or the Titanic captains rather. And so whatever happens next with them, we have a good sense of their location and what their plans are too. With the Revolutionary Army, the fact that they're keeping an eye on that, that's a very Blackbeard thing of like exploiting, incidents that are happening outside of them and then coming in and being scavengers. They should be the vulture pirates is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think my favorite conspiracy theory of yours, John, is that the death game was a pivot that like Oda was just like, actually this sucks, and he just like threw the whole storyline out. That's my favorite conspiracy theory of yours.
It feels right. I can relate with it. It's
I mean, we know he's pivoted before, so it's not outside the realm of possibility, which makes it great.
Was there anything about the Blackbeard stuff you wanted to touch on? I mean, I think it's good. Like, it's confirmation of things mostly, right? Like, yes, Moria and Perona got away. That was expected. Well, we actually don't know for sure if Perona got away, but I think we can safely assume. And then Garp is still alive for sure. But I mean, I do like the touch that like Kuzan was going all out and was going for the kill. At least he's saying that, right? He could just be saying that to Blackbeard to save face, right? I didn't really consider that until now. But if it was ever like Blackbeard, or if there was ever a reason for Blackbeard to question, right? Like, well, Kuzan, did you hold back? Do you know did you have a chance to kill Garp? Maybe. I mean, Kuzan's shrewd.
I mean, in fairness, I think Blackbeard would prefer him alive in this case. So to him, this is a value add, because Kuzan's like, oh, I thought we killed him, but he's actually too tough to kill. And to Blackbeard, that's great, because he seems to be taking this as an absolute win, because he still thinks for some reason having Kobe would have opened up a bunch of opportunities. He's yelling at Pizarro at the beginning about like the key to, taking the government seriously in the hunt for the Poneglyphs and everything is Kobe. And like, we still haven't really pieced together the logic on that, because the reasoning he gave didn't make a lot of sense. And
you said Kizaru, but you meant Kuzan, yeah.
No, Pizarro. Sorry.
I thought you said Kizaru. I was
no,
like, no.
No. But he's yelling about it. He's like, he literally says, like, we can't win if we don't take them seriously. And the key to that is Kobe. And I don't think we've still come around on that, because we were still pretty skeptical of the whole, like, giving, nation status to Hachinosu and everything. Like, was that really going to go somewhere? It just
that's
seems
the thing
weird.
is, like, in this chapter, we're seeing how Blackbeard is trying to catch the Marines at their most desperate. Because right now, like, that's probably part of what Lafitte is up to.
Yeah.
Of, like, trying to find a way, like, they need Blackbeard more than he needs them. Like, that kind of bargaining, that kind of negotiation. I could absolutely see him, Blackbeard, kind of being a pawn or a tool of the world government and vice versa. Because at this point, they're kind of cooked.
Well, Blackbeard's always playing 4D chess, and I know that's like a meme, but like he kind of always is, right? He's always got pieces out in places, kind of waiting for openings and opportunities. So, this Garp thing really is just that more than anything else. But, this is also not the first time that they've like straight up messed with the revolutionaries as well, right? So I'm still kind of curious what the goal is with that, because most pirates don't seem to have any concerns with the revolutionaries. Even the emperors never make mention of them. Like, we've never seen Kaido make reference to Dragon or anything like that. But Blackbeard's always had his eye on him, and it makes me question it where Lafitte is actually going to be initiating whatever this plan actually is. But I did hear it theorized around this week, and I think it's important to remember that Lafitte is a hypnotist, which is not something we have talked about much on this podcast. But the idea of Lafitte sleeper agents is something that is very intriguing to me.
Yeah, he makes for a great spy, so there is that, and for that reason. And I'm not saying that the Kuro pirates need to be brought back into the story, but that, I also wouldn't be shocked. That's for sure. We have a bunch of comments here. One from Tagahanga, who just Legoland Euro trip. Man, I hope Usopp is still with the Giants. Blackbeard has got so many trump cards right now. Also, he looks like a real mean pirate on that one close-up. I still don't get how Blackbeard could trust Aokiji, though. Aokiji is one of the most morally good among the Marines. I am so happy for Bonnie. The revolutionaries are definitely attacking Marijoa Supplies itself. Wow. Edit. Of course, Bartolomeo and crew are still alive. If Pell survived from that bomb in Alabasta, the you can't trust some being dead unless officially announced is true. Shanks cannot let that offense slide. Of course, they have to show that an attack on them does not go unpunished. Okay, so first of all, I think Usopp will be with this, Luffy and them, probably some giants, but yeah, we don't know, because we don't know, like, the castle doesn't look huge. So there might be something weird going on there that could be related to giants or not.
Yeah, I don't think that they're on, like, a different island, right? I don't think we're doing, like, some people are going to Elbaf and then some people are going
This was a big
somewhere
ship,
else, right? Like,
even that.
Yeah, I don't think we're doing that. I would be very, very shocked if we were doing that.
I don't believe that Aokiji is morally good, because first of all, as Travis would say, A.K.A, right? But also, I think it's just more of like, that shows you how morally evil he is when, like, he did seem to have some kind of code and he broke it. That to me is what makes him, it's a different kind of evil.
I mean, to Kuzan's credit, the only good cop is one that quits. So credit where it's due. Let's be fair here.
He did spare Robin.
But yeah, this idea that he's, like, morally good, like, that's kind of the point of his character, right? Is that he has always been conflicted about what is moral and what is good. Just because he's disobeyed orders, so we perceive that as good. But the reality is that it has put him constantly in conflict with the people that he's supposed to be serving with and protecting. So
he's truly great.
You do this. Yeah, he's completely lost. He was completely lost and directionless, right? He lost to Akainu, and he didn't want to serve under him, so he left, and he was completely aimless. And judging by that flashback we got, he was pretty down in the dumps about it. And the opportunity from Blackbeard wasn't really necessarily a moral imperative either. It was very much similar to, like, Luffy recruiting somebody. It's, okay, you've had this bad thing happen to you, but now what do you want to do with your life?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's an opportunity. I think, and to the point about like, I can't believe he's trusting him. I don't think Blackbeard trusts any of these people as far as he can throw them. I don't think that's the case. They've said, Blackbeard said as much when he was recruiting Kuzan, is like, we are not here to be a family. We're not here to be like friends. We're here because we have mutual interests. We have mutual goals, and we will accomplish them. So I don't think it's like that's the dark reflection of like the Straw Hats, right? Is they're not connected by some sort of like mutual trust or like found family. They are opportunists, right? And Blackbeard is just the strongest one of them, and they all know what his deal is, apparently, so they know that they can't just backstab him. That kind of seems to be more the situation. It's more profitable for them to just continue working under Blackbeard.
Probably the Zebek playbook that Blackbeard is just ripping, wholesale. Is the
exactly. It's just, beat up the biggest guy in the yard, and then everybody will do what you say.
Prison logic. No wonder Shiro of the Rain kind of joined it. Primal X3 said, the Blackbeard meeting was so intense. Funny seeing Blackbeard's reactions to what transpired, especially with the capture of Garp. Although, part of me thinks Kuzan is lying about intending to kill him, but maybe he did. Quickly, I'll just say that, I like what you said, though, Travis, about that, which is more saying, like, he just thought he killed him because he went all out, and maybe he didn't intend to, but was kind of surprised that Garp survived. That also fits, I think.
Yeah, I think Kuzan doesn't know what he wants still. I think he's trying to figure it out. That's where I'm at. I think he is still very much lost in the sauce.
We can fix him. Primal said, the ending was a cliffhanger I wouldn't have expected. They are not even at Elbaf yet, but everything about the last scene appears to be related to giants. The Viking costume Nami has, or the room she is in, being made of giant Legos, hinting that she could be in a giant toy house made by a kid giant. But how did other giants capture the Straw Hats if they haven't reached Elbaf yet? I can't even guess anything that makes sense. That's why this cliffhanger is one of the best in recent chapters. I think that I think they're at Elbaf. I think they went there of their own accord, maybe because they couldn't wait. Maybe Usopp said, like, hey, can we sneak off? And they were drunk and went along with it. But I do really love the idea of it being a giant toy house.
What if it, because they mention absinthe in like the stories of it creating hallucinations. What if like legitimately they hallucinated something? Yeah. And just wandered the ship off and just crashed it somewhere on Elbaf, and they literally are just in some kid's house because they're too drunk to know where they were.
I love that idea, though, that it's like their toy house. That's perfect.
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be a devil fruit.
Yeah, I like that better than like, oh, Loki grabbed them and we're going to do the wedding thing again from Thriller Bark. No, they, like, Zoro got drunk with Luffy. And Luffy doesn't drink booze, but Luffy's an idiot. So you can tell him you see a thing on the horizon and he's going to be like, cool, let's go get it. And like, so they do that and they crash the ship. Like that's,
and they followed Zoro.
Thing. Yeah.
Zoro took them in the wrong direction. Yeah.
Yeah. And then next thing you know, they've washed up on an Elbaf beach somewhere and some kids found them. Like that seems completely plausible.
Al Dizzle 11, I've never seen this commenter before, said, woo! Glad we can finally leave behind shoehorned sci-fi setting and get back to a classic pirate adventure vibe. I'm more excited for this Nami-centric filler story than I've been for the last 10 chapters. I wouldn't call Egghead shoehorned sci-fi, but I think it was paced right. I'm glad to be. I agree. Like I'm totally down for the classic pirate thing, but I don't think that says anything less about Elbaf.
No, I think this is people. You'll get this a lot in like fantasy circles. I'm gonna dig into my knowledge of other things for a second here. But for example, there is an upcoming Magic the Gathering release that is going to pull from 80s horror for its inspiration. So there are things that don't normally appear in these kinds of products and stories, like vests. And so some people just really don't jive with that. And I think this is one of those things where just some people would never have perceived sci-fi in One Piece because One Piece has done all kinds of other things, but they've never really tiptoed in this direction. I would disagree with that for many reasons.
Right.
Like,
very much so.
I'm just saying, I think this is just kind of like a science fiction in particular has that kind of like branding, I guess, of like being futuristic or being hyper technological and that just kind of always clashes. I don't think it actually does. I am a Final Fantasy fan. Tech has been a part of that forever. But like it is something that, like, especially like traditionalists will just always have kind of like they'll whinge a little bit at it. But One Piece has had technology in it from the start. I mean, just the understanding of devil fruits at all is kind of its own, scientific discovery, right? Like, they know how those work, right? So I find this kind of a bad take, but I do understand where it comes from, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it kind of does remind me a little bit of Boruto, when Boruto kind of like really leaned harder into the more contemporary technology stuff. And people were like, okay, yeah, Naruto always had more of like an 80s, 90s vibe with the tech. And then it just sort of like went to the modern day. And I think people were a little bit like, you kind of took away the charm of the aesthetic, for the sake of being like time has passed. And now we have to kind of, and I guess it's actually a little similar to Korra, Legend of Korra as well. Although I feel like that didn't get as much heat for the same kind of thing until maybe its last season, when it had literally giant robots. Speaking of.
Well, and it's worth noting that a lot of that technological advancement tends to come with either just in the immediate windfall of war or in highly prosperous times of capitalism. Let's be just real about it. So, like, you think about Boruto, there were innovations made during the last arc of Naruto that translate directly to how things go in Boruto. One Piece, they're basically rediscovering the technology is what we're learning. So if anything, it makes more sense now to have a sci-fi arc than ever. And, the way that those pieces have been laid out and they click in so well, we can see that that's been the plan the whole time. That's why I say, like, you get to Egghead and you get basically the giant revelation that One Piece is a post-apocalyptic story. And it's so mind-boggling that we just all kind of just like, okay, moving on. Like, we just don't even process that reality, but it's true. That's what One Piece is. And it has always been. And it's kind of like the single puzzle piece that makes so much of this series make more sense.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of incredible. We've more or less guessed it ourselves multiple times, but it's just, oh, yeah, that does make sense. So
it's nice to see it playing out in the way that it really intends. Yeah.
And it's worth noting that everything in Egghead was still behind what the Void Century had, supposedly.
Right.
So there's still more to come. Sorry, I hate to break it to that commenter, but there's more to come. We could still go to the moon before this series is over.
Well, yeah, that'll probably be the very ending. But anyway, Lionblade said, considering that Nami is inside a toy blockhouse, which is like a Lego house, it's possible that a giant, possibly Loki, might have somehow gotten her and is treating her like a toy. If that turns out to be the case, then the same may be true for Luffy and for all the other Straw Hats that were present in the Sunny. I'm with you, Travis, where I don't think it's going to be Loki. I feel like Loki has to have a bigger buildup. And yeah, I think it's just probably going to be our typical, like, here are some characters from the new arc, and they're going to be totally new. Let's get to know them. Like, that's what I'm feeling. But also, we don't know if it's going to be giants.
Yeah, I like it better because I don't want to do a rehash of like, oh, Nami pretty, I want to do the creep on her. Like, we've done that a few times. I think we haven't done it in so long. I would like us to not have to do it again before the series is over. It just kind of feels overdone at this point. And Nami probably is over it too, if we're being honest. So I'm more of a fan of it being a little bit more innocuous, but we do have to introduce Loki. Like, we do kind of have to hit these beats, and we've discussed before, it seems very unlikely we're doing a full, like, kingdom arc here, right?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Heroes Who Anime has a big comment here. They said, okay, so we all agree that Nami is in some kind of toy house for giant children inspired by Lego. Only the Straw Hats can enter a new island in that fashion. Bet it'll be 2 to 3 more chapters until the island is officially introduced. Still, Blackbeard got Garp, Pudding, and now Caribou. Stuff is about to get real hectic in this arc, and like the last cover story, Yamato will fight some Blackbeard crew. And the fact that Yasopp blew up Bartolomeo's ship, I feel like Oda is setting up for a big gag when he meets up with Usopp. My theory, Straw Hats and Red Hair Pirates will have a Davy Back fight. The father-son duo will have a sniping match, and at the last minute, Usopp reveals that he knows what Yasopp did and tells his dad that he left a precious treasure of his to that crew, a photo of the mom, which will shake up Yasopp and miss the final shot, giving Usopp the win, of which the liar will say it was a lie as payback for sinking the crew. That's fun. That was a very specific prediction. If that ends up being completely accurate, I'll be very impressed.
I love the idea of Usopp getting one over on somebody like that, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like, genuinely, that would be just a fantastic way to circle up his character. Because, you know, we have the recurring theme of, like, the lies Usopp tells becomes true, and that's a great recurring theme. But it would be fun for a lie to just work. You know, that would be kind of, that would be swell. I would be on board with that, actually.
The last thing Heroes Who Anime said was, also, we are now X chapters away from the Robin and Saul reunion, where X represents unknown amount of chapters, but we know it's going to happen in this arc. Yeah, that is something that we didn't really get to, which is that this sort of delays the Robin and Saul reunion, because now we have this sort of what could be a side story. Or it could be very crucial. I don't want to assume it's a side story. It
would be buck wild if our separated party finds Saul first and doesn't know who he is. That would be fascinating.
Snicker Snack said, Absinthe made it to One Piece World. What a hangover, LOL. Bonnie with Kuma could be new Straw Hat members unofficially, and I'm hoping for it. Distorted Future is such a broken ability it can battle San Juan Wolf, LOL. As expected of Bartolomeo to be Luffy's #1 fan, they definitely survived. Yasop shooting them makes me look forward to seeing Red Hair Pirates battle prowess. Kizaru with Vegapunk, and now Aokiji with Garp. Damn, seeing Garp like that reminded me of Ace. Seems like Blackbeard has the upper hand with their captives, and then Caribou will inform them about Shirahoshi and Wano. Crap. Wonder how Big Mom Pirates will respond to Pudding's capture. Would be nice for Katakuri to ally with Luffy. Looks like it's the Alabasta Arc crew who got separated. Elbaf, here we go. Usopp, it's your time to shine. Fun. That was fun to read. Yeah, I mean, all these pieces. The Big Mom Pirates, I think that they're pretty preoccupied. But could you see maybe Blackbeard Pirates just stomping down Katakuri and the remnants, you know, like kind of just another show of big power or something? Because we do have the Battle Royale thing still going on.
Yeah, I think that there is... The Pudding thing is kind of wild because it almost feels more like it's there to give Blackbeard an out for the poneglyphs than it is to, like, keep the Big Mom Pirates in the story, if that makes sense.
There has to be a consequence, and it's going to take time for Katakuri and Smoothie and all them to, like, reunite, right? And to, like, kind of be like, all right, we have to put off finding Big Mom for now and go save Pudding ourselves.
I would say that considering that the majority of the Big Mom Pirates are still assembled compared to, say, like the Animal Kingdom Pirates or, you know, or other crews, the fact remains that, like, they are a force and they are a powerful force. Mm-hmm. So a skirmish between the Blackbeard Pirates and them would not necessarily be like a stomp fest, like I think it was with Law. I think that there is a higher possibility of risk there, which does make me question whether or not Blackbeard would go for it.
I agree, but also...
I'm not saying he'd lose. I'm just saying there's risk, and he's a calculative... He's not going to just go pick a fight, right, is my point.
Yeah. What I'm more so saying is that Katakuri would probably want to go confront him, but the problem is, he can't. Because even if Katakuri gets Smoothie and the Genie dude, like, even if he gets all the generals or whatever, the sweet generals, and they have a lot of power, but they have to protect their territory. They can't just, like, all go out. That's why Big Mom didn't take everyone with her in the first place. So without Big Mom, an actual Yonko, they don't stand a chance, but they also, so to get Pudding, they would have to probably try to send in, like, a spy, or they would probably have to, like, wait and bide their time, because they can't win, like, by brute force. There's no way.
I do wonder what happens to these territories in the wake of things like Wano, because technically they have nothing to protect, because that flag means nothing at this point.
No,
like
to
the point of, well, I mean, they do, but, like,
no, what do they do? That's the thing.
What do they do? Right? Like, they have the opportunity to kind of, like, reinforce that, but they don't even technically have that leadership anymore. I don't think there was ever, like, a succession plan in Big Mom's head.
Yeah, I mean, I think Katakuri takes over, but he probably doesn't know what he can do. You know, he's just probably paralyzed at this point by fear, you know, or not even fear, but just, like, tactically, you're just kind of stuck. Yeah. Because, so, you know, it could be one of those things where the Big Mom Pirates just kind of have to wait, and maybe that is their #1 priority, is, like, we just have to find Big Mom, because without her, you know, there's no hope. But I don't know. I think she and Kaido are probably still, cuddling in the lava, so it might be a minute.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if that ever pays off or not.
All right, there's not a ton of other comments, just kind of like quick things. Vasarto said, Oda just killed my favorite character? Dang it, this sucks. I really didn't want this to happen, and he did it off screen, which really pisses me off. Okay, again, I don't think that's the case. I think Bardo's fine.
Okay. I have a bigger complaint here than this. Okay. What the heck does off-screen mean to people now?
Yeah, where we didn't see Bardo's body disintegrate.
What does that mean?
Because screen would be it's like it's totally like not even shown at all.
Like if Garp was dead, we saw him die.
Yeah.
The fact that he's not dead is a surprise to us. But like this, they blew the ship up. There's a panel of the ship blowing up. Guys, we gotta decide what words are. Like, I gotta be real. Like we cannot have these discussions. Kids, I feel like I'm like yelling at people to get off my lawn. But
all right, Grandpa.
What does that mean? What do you mean he was off? What?
Well, that's it for the comments. That's a good one to end it on. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We have chapter 1127 coming up next. And then, according to Hippo in the Discord, we'll have a break after that. So we get one more chapter. I don't have the Raws yet. Hoping to get them sometime tomorrow. But of course, if you are somebody who just loves One Piece spoilers, you know what to do. Hang out with us in the Discord. And especially if there was something that you heard us talk about where you're like, hey, you guys forgot this, hey, you forgot that, hey, let's add this a little extra here. Add some spice to that broth, Sanji style. So until next time, Travis, here's what I'm going to say as a goodbye this week. Come on board and bring along all your hopes and dreams. Together we will find everything that we're looking for. There's always room for you if you want to be my friend. That's an inside joke. I was reading We Are lyrics right before we started recording. Anyway, bye, everybody.
Yeah, bye.